All right, well, hello, seventh grade friends. As we're moving right along here into our second lesson here in chapter 1, and this is all about adding integers. So it involves both positive and negative numbers. Now, by this point, at least if you were in Mr. Swack's sixth grade class last year, you got a pretty thorough start with adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. So we're not going to be delving as deep in this video today. We'll probably do some things in class, but the one thing I do want to talk about first of all is whenever we are finding the sum of negative and positive numbers, the numbers always work. So like if I look at this place, 8 and 7. So what do I mean when I say the numbers always work? Well, when I look at 8 and 7, 8 plus 7 is 15. So I kind of make a note of 15. And then 8 minus 7 is 1. So somehow my answer to 8 plus negative 7 has to be 15 or 1. Now, it doesn't mean it's just positive 15 or positive 1. It could also be negative 15 and negative 1. But if I have some other number, like 7 or 2 or 13 or whatever, that's not 1 or not 15, I have the wrong answer. So now let's look at some of these. First of all, remember that we always separate. When we have a negative number here, we put these parentheses because they don't want the two operation signs together. So this is 8 plus a negative 7. Now when I'm adding a negative number, that's the same as subtracting. So I can replace the add a negative with a subtraction. And so it essentially becomes 8 minus 7. Well, 8 minus 7 is 1. And sure enough, 8 plus a negative 7 is 1. Negative 3 plus 9. Now remember, whenever I have an addition, I can flip the number. So I can actually make this 9 plus negative 3, because you can flip the two numbers in an addition problem, and it still will equal the same thing. So 9 plus a negative, as we talked about in the first one, that's just going to be 9 minus 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. And sure enough, negative 3 plus 9 is indeed 6. Now, when both numbers are negative, like in this one, negative 4 plus negative 17, all I do is just add the 4 and the 17, because it's just a negative number getting bigger. Well, I know that 4 plus 17 is 21. So negative 4 plus negative 16 equals negative 21. Well, here's two positive numbers like 2 plus 5. That's pretty basic. Okay, we don't want to overthink that. 2 plus 5 is 7. Now here I have a 3 plus negative 9. So I can think about this as 3 plus negative 9, which I know is just 3 minus 9. Now whenever I have a situation, some of you might say, well, you can't do that because 9 is bigger than 3. Well, until you work with negative numbers, that's actually true. But 3 minus 9, I can just think about it as 9 minus 3. Well, I know that 9 minus 3 is 6, which means that 3 minus 9 is going to equal negative 6. Pretty basic, all right? You're going to also have some where you find the sum that involve 3 numbers. So we're going to have to do some things here, and we're just going to kind of break the problems down. First of all, if we look at this one, 12 plus negative 7 plus negative 21. Well, 12 plus negative 7 is the same as 12 minus 7. Well, I know that 12 minus 7 is 5, which means that this part here, 12 plus negative 7, equals 5, which means now I'm left with 5 plus negative 21, which means essentially that since it's plus a negative, I'm doing 5 minus 21. Well, if I was to think of it as 21 minus 5, I know that 21 minus 5 equals 16, which means that 5 minus 21 equals negative 16. Moving right along. Negative 14 plus 27 plus a negative 39. Well, negative 14 plus 27, I can flip that around and make it 27 plus a negative 14. Well, when I add a negative, that's subtraction. So that's 27 minus 14, which I know that 27 minus 14 equals 13. So negative 14 plus 27 equals 13. But now it's 13 plus a negative 39. Now when I add a negative, of course, as we've talked about, I know that's going to be 13 minus 39. If I want to flip that around and think of it as 39 minus 13, I know that 39 minus 13 is 26, which means that 13 minus 39 is equal to negative 26. All right, moving right along. Negative 18 plus negative 12 plus 21. Well, first of all, we have two negative numbers here. Remember, we always put these parentheses to show separation between the two operational signs. So I think 18 plus 12. Well, 18 plus 12 is 30. So negative 18 plus negative 12, that whole thing is going to be equal to negative 30. Now I'm left with negative 30 plus 21. So what I'm going to think of is, well, I'm going to flip the addition problem, and I'm going to make it 21 plus a negative 30. When I have 21 plus a negative, I know that adding a negative is the same as subtracting. So that's 21 minus 30. I can flip that around and think of it as 30 minus 21. Now I know that 30 minus 21 equals 9, which means that 21 minus 30 is equal to negative 9. And that is my final answer. All right. Second section of what we need to talk about to finish up this video. Same sort of thing, but you're going to get a section where it tells you to evaluate the problems with these variables based on whatever values they give you. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to evaluate the expression when, and the values we're going to use are a equals 4, b equals negative 7, and c equals negative 12. So the first one is a plus b. Well, it tells me that a equals 4, so that's going to be 4. That b equals negative 7, so that's going to be plus negative 7. And of course, once again, I separate using the operational signs. I know, because I don't want operational signs next to each other, I know when I add a negative, I'm subtracting, so that's going to be 4 minus 7. I can think about it as 7 minus 4. Now I know that 7 minus 4 is 3, so I know that 4 minus 7 is equal to negative 3. All right, negative b plus 7. Well, b is negative 7, so if it's a negative b, it's going to be a negative 7. Now a negative 7, since it's two negatives, I know it's just going to be 7. Two negatives there make a positive, because it's a negative 1 times a negative 7, which equals 7, because two negatives in multiplication equals a positive number. Plus c is negative 12, plus negative 12. Well, I know that when I add a negative, once again, keeping the parentheses to separate the operational signs, when I add a negative, I'm just subtracting. So it's 7 minus 12. Well, instead of 7 minus 12, I can think 12 minus 7. I know that 12 minus 7 is 5, so I know that 7 minus 12 is equal to negative 5. And that's my final answer. All right, here we've got the bars. Remember what these bars are. Absolute value from lesson 1.1. Absolute value, remember, is how far a number is away from 0. So it's a plus b plus c. Well, a, it's the absolute value of 4. B is negative 7, so plus negative 7, parentheses, to keep the operational signs separated, plus c. C is equal to negative 12. So once again, parentheses to separate the operational signs, absolute value. 4 plus negative 7 is the same as 4 minus 7. I can think about that as 7 minus 4 equals 3, which means that 4 minus 7 equals negative 3. So this part here, 4 plus negative 7, is equal to negative 3. Well, negative 3 plus a negative 12, absolute value, it's both negative numbers. So I just add the two numbers, 3 and 12. 3 plus 12 is 15. So we're talking, and since they're both negatives, we're talking about the absolute value of negative 15. Well, the absolute value of negative 15 is 15 because it's 15 away from 0. All right, we'll talk to you later, 7th grade. Bye.